again today with another Talk It Up stream. I am Rebecca, and
I'm Mom.
all right. So today our topic is going to be about education or just, our time in school. She's gone through college, I have not, but we both gone through high school. So, and just comparing school in her time, school in my time, school with COVID. I was one of the seniors who was like caught at the beginning of COVID. So just all that.
All right.
All right, so I wanted to start this one off a little bit more like fun and story-ish. So, do you have any like, I guess, I guess general stories, exciting stories from high school, middle school, college stories?
What about elementary school?
Sure.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
we can go like we say something about each level of school we've done.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Elementary school, I really enjoyed it. I had all black teachers throughout all of my um, public school time. I grew up in Gary, and yeah, there were just all black teachers, all black principals. I may have had two or three or less than a handful of white teachers during the time that I was in elementary through high school. Okay. So, elementary school, Mr. Fowler, sixth grade.
That's
Was
not elementary.
sixth grade? Oh,
Sixth grade's middle school.
in my time, middle school was just seventh and eighth. Okay, so Mr. Fowler, sixth grade, was my favorite teacher. Um, just because he called me the superstar all the time, and that was literally my name when I was in class. He'd be out in the hall talking to other teachers and realized that he needed something, and he would literally yell down the hall, "Hey, superstar!" And everybody in the class would say, "Mr. Fowler's calling you," and I just really enjoyed that all my life. I mean, it was fond, fond memories of being the superstar. Okay, your turn for elementary school.
I guess this one, I feel like I've talked about this recently, but this also happened like sixth or seventh to me. For me, middle school is sixth, seventh, and eighth. So I'll consider that middle school. I really don't have any elementary school stories, really. Oh, besides, they don't know this, you know this, but do you remember that time I brought that mouse to school?
Oh my God. Yes, you tell your version and then I'll tell it from
I will
a
tell
mother's
my
perspective.
version.
Okay.
I do understand in hindsight. Keep in mind, I was in like third or fourth grade. So I was like pretty young. I think I was in third.
Second.
Second? No, I wasn't in second. It was like third or fourth.
Okay.
But so we had, every now and then we would get the like occasional mouse, rat, whatever you want to call it. Mouse. In our house that we lived in at the time. So like my mom would buy these like sticky traps that would, like, when they walk on it, they would be stuck to it, and they would also put rat poison down, like blue rat poison. So they had a combination of both of those. So one day I was about to go to school. I think I had missed the bus or had a doctor's appointment or something. For some reason I wasn't taking the bus. And I was sitting at the bottom of the stairs, and I see the rat stuck to one of the little sticky things, like dying. And so I pointed out, I'm like, "Oh, look, there's the rat." And then my mom runs upstairs and she's like saying, "Hey, there's a rat." And so I'm just sitting down there thinking, and I'm like, they're about to probably like throw this rat in the trash or something, or like kill it. And I was like, I don't want them to do that. I'm like, it's still alive. So I took it and just like still on the sticky thing and just like threw it in a little cubby of my book bag. And my plan was to, because I knew I was going to get to school at around recess, I was just going to let it out during recess and let it do whatever. So
set it free.
Yeah. So, I put it in my book bag, and Mom came back downstairs. She's like, "Where'd it go?" I'm like, "It's gone." And she's like, "It's gone." I was like, "Yeah, it ran away." And she was just like, "Oh, okay." So I ended up getting taken to school. Everything's fine. And I get to school, and it is recess, so the plan was going fine. But as a third grader, I of course felt the need to show off the fact that there was a mouse in my book bag.
That's where she went from.
So I started going up to kids and just like showing them that there is a rat in my book bag. So then there was just a big crowd of kids around me. So then somehow a teacher found out that they were all around me because I had a rat in my book bag. So she comes up to me and she's like, "What do you have in your book bag?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a mouse." And she's like, "Is that a pet mouse from home or like a mouse that is like a wild mouse or whatever?" And I was like, "It's a pet from home." And then she still sent me to the office. But I was thinking saying it's a pet from home, she would like, it wouldn't be that big of an issue. Because I think I knew that like rabies was a thing and like that could have happened. So I knew to say that it was a pet mouse, but it just looked so dingy and was like clearly dying. She could probably tell it was not a pet. So, so I ended up getting sent to the office, and there was a police officer there. He was already there before. He wasn't there for me. He was just in like the building at the time. And so the teacher like talked to him because I mean really there's not much they could do about it because I mean I brought a rat to school, but like do you suspend a kid for that? Not really. So yeah. So
never been done before.
So she like went off to the side and started talking to the police officer, probably just saying, give her a scare, you know, tell her she can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And that's what he did. He came around and he's like, "You can't do that. That's dangerous. Like, what if that mouse got all the kids sick and blah, 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 and let it out and don't do it again and all that." And then they called home and that was pretty much the end of it.
So we had just dropped Becca off at school. We get home, relaxing or whatever. I don't know what we were doing. But we get a call. I answered the phone. It's a teacher from Rebecca's school. And she says, Rebecca's okay, because my first instinct was, oh my God, is she sick? You know? And so she said, Rebecca's fine, but we just wanted to ask you if you have a pet mouse. Rebecca showed up to school with a mouse in her book bag, and all of the kids were looking at the mouse, and it created such a stir that it drew my attention. And so we just wanted to check with you to see if you had let Rebecca bring her pet mouse to school. So I said, no, we don't have a pet mouse. That mouse was missing. We caught the mouse, and we couldn't figure out where the mouse was. As a matter of fact, that's what we were doing, checking all the vents for a dead mouse. That's what we were doing when we got the call. Yeah, needless to say, that did not go over well.
But it's an interesting story.
Very interesting. Oh, there was never a dull moment with this one. Never. Did you tell them about the time you asked about the dolphin show?
I don't consider that a big deal. I think I'd still do something like that today. Also, real quick, I see the one viewer. Hello to the one viewer.
Oh, hi, viewer.
Feel free to talk in chat.
Yay! Feel free to talk. Let us know if we're funny. If it's boring, we can move on to the next topic or whatever. Becca, I think it's your turn for junior high.
Junior high. Okay, this was the one I was gonna tell. So this happened 7th grade, I think. So there was like I had my group of friends. This was in Gary. I've been to a couple different school systems. So the story I just told about the rat, I was at a public school system, and then in this one, I was in Gary, which is where she grew up. But yeah, so it was a different setting. Just to say, I've gone to school in a lot of different settings. But anyway, so I was in Gary at the time, and so there was a group of like 4 people, and I had a friend group that was also 4 people, and they didn't like each other. I don't know why. It's middle school. I don't remember. It was probably something stupid because that it was just probably something stupid. But I do remember actually like wanting to be friends with one of the people in the group though, because he was a really funny guy named Lenzo, and I would be like feel bad because I'm like I don't know why we don't like each other, but he's pretty cool. But anyway, so we were in class. We at Gary schools are so small that most of your class has the same classes, like most of your grade, because there's like 50 people per grade. So our whole class is like sitting in like geography or something, and we like my friend group and that friend group, I think my friend group got called first to the like science room because this all happened in the science books, what I'm about to say. So we get called to the science room, and the science teacher's sitting there, and she goes, all of my science books, she had like 5 books, and she's like, they got a bunch of like profanity and cursing out and blah, 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 blah. The 4 people in the like friend group that we didn't like. So it would say, I don't remember any of their names, but we'll say Josh. Like one of them says, Josh is a bee. And like it would say stuff like that. And so there was just a bunch of books that were just talking a bunch of, profanity, blah, 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 writing in the back of all these science books. So we're like, we didn't do that. Like, oh, that has nothing to do with us. We didn't, why would we do that? And so the teacher's like, well, down here, it's got you guys' names signed. So I'm like, first of all, why would we sign our names? That makes 0 sense. Second of all, this is where they really messed up. The spelling of my name is very unique, and not a lot of people know it unless they know me. So whoever, like the people in the group that did it, spelled my name very wrong. So they signed it with my name and like the other people's name, and they spelled my name wrong. So I'm like, they spelled my name wrong, and that's not, like, we didn't do that. So the science teacher like thought about it when she heard it, and she was like, okay, so she would make us write, like when the class was being too loud, she would make us write 5-page essays handwritten on a topic of her choosing. And she would give us a F per page we didn't write. So yeah, she was really strict about it.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very strict about it. So I used to always write them because I'm like, I don't have time to be getting Fs. Right. And like if you do the whole thing, it's considered an A. She'll put it as an A in the grade book. But if you miss pages, she puts it in as that many Fs.
Wow.
Yeah. So I used to always do them. So she took out one of mine because it's handwritten 5 pages. And she compared the handwriting. She compared all of our handwritings. And she's like, okay, I don't think this was them. So then she calls in the other group, and I don't know how their conversation went, but it ended up being figured out that it was them who wrote in them and were like trying to frame us. So then we just had to like apologize to them. I don't know, that wasn't that interesting of a story, but I just thought that was really dumb how they signed and they spelled my name wrong and then tried to frame us. That's just such a dumb middle school thing.
Yeah. And so I think that by the time you get to high school, you know everything you need to know really to get through life, right? Yeah. They don't teach you anything that prepare you to live just in society when you're in high school. Like when I was in high school, for instance, we had a class that taught us how to write checks. It wasn't just one class that taught us nothing but writing checks, but it was called Business 101. But in our business class, we learned how to write checks. We learned how to balance our checkbooks. We learned how to...
One sec. We got a comment and it said, your mom's single. And my response is, she is single if you subscribe. But you have to subscribe.
Click like,
subscribe
or
donate
to our channel.
Donating makes her more single. Anyway, you continue with your story.
Okay. And so, yeah, we had a class that taught us how to balance our checkbook. We learned how to pay bills. Like, we had fake bills, and we had to write checks to pay those bills, fake checks. And, but those things, I still use that stuff to this day. But they don't have classes like that
Not
anymore.
At all. I really can't say. If I didn't have that one checkbook, I'd never know how to write a check.
Yeah, and we had, like in my world history class, we actually had to read the newspaper, and once a week we had an assignment just to write something that you learned from the newspaper yesterday or last week or
I
something.
I did have a teacher like that. I actually saw this teacher today, and I talked about it in one of my live streams, but Mr. Gassino, my ACP Gov teacher, I saw him today. But yeah, he used to make us speak about some kind of weekly topic every single week. Just any current event, we speak on it, and we would have like a daily discussion to give people a chance to talk about current stuff. And actually, it's really interesting because during this time, COVID was happening, and like every week, someone's like topic was something about COVID. So it's from the very first case in Washington, D.C., I was like hearing about it because every week someone had like the new update. And I remember that teacher straight up being like, oh, it's not going to be a big deal. It's Walmart flu. Like, it's not going to do anything.
I had a doctor at my job saying the exact same thing. And I expected him to be a little bit more educated about this coming virus that was, taking over the world, it seemed. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's not going to be a big deal. Of course, he was Republican. So it seemed like he just believed everything Trump said. But he was like, oh, it's just the flu. I'm personally not impressed by the numbers. I think that if it was a big deal, it would be millions and not, a couple of 100,000. At this time, it was in the early days, and it was like 200,000 cases or something. I'm like, but the fact that it's spreading so quickly.
I'll cut you off one more time real quick. Thank you for the sub. You said I'll subscribe. So thank you for your subscribing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing. So yeah.
You were saying he was saying he wasn't impressed by the numbers and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but that's a later story on my healthcare topic, I guess, in the future.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, you did your middle school. Okay, do you have a high school now?
A high school story. I just feel like, as I was saying earlier, that high school really doesn't give you classes that help you with life. Like, you're preparing to actually be an adult at this point. You should be able to dibble and dabble in different careers so you can have a better understanding of what you might like. A little bit of healthcare class in case you might be interested in nursing or a doctor. A little bit of teaching, give you some experiences, helping to, teach or tutor the class, or, so you can figure out what you want to do when you go to college, as opposed to just blindly coming off the cuff and declaring a major and not having any experience in anything.
And I will say, because like I said, I've been to a lot of different schools. I went to high school in a very good curriculum school. I would say, even though I may not have liked the atmosphere as much, as far as the education and the teachers and the class options, I would say it's top tier schooling, probably the best you can get at a public school, really, because it's a very nice neighborhood. So, and yeah, it's that same issue. Like, we have really good classes available, but school counselors, I'm not trying to put down any job, but if you are a school counselor, please tell me in the comments, explain to me why the job doesn't get done so commonly. I don't know. I just know our school counselors at my school, they would give us like all the same basic classes. And especially amongst people I know, we never got recommended AP classes. Like, you would have to know about the AP class and bring it up in order to.
Wow, it was hidden.
Yeah, it was hidden. It was very hidden. There was even, I asked to be in like that dance class that I took.
Yeah.
And my school counselor was like, oh, well, we don't know if we'll have enough people for it, so right now I'll put you in psych, and if there's enough people to have the class, then I'll put you in dance. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So I signed up for psych, so I'm in psych for 3 days, and I find out that Jasmine's like in the dance class I was talking about. And I was like, my counselor told me that it wasn't gonna have, like, that it wasn't going to be a class, and I'm sitting here in psych. I don't want to be in psych. So I went back to my counselor, and I'm like, hey, you put me in psych, but you said I could be in this dance class if they open it. And she was like, oh, yeah, and ended up switching me out. But I'm just like,
why didn't she come to you about that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
why did
I feel
have
like
to
that
hear
was
from
some microaggressions towards you. Yeah, because you had that one teacher. Now, I have a story about you in your high school, because there was a teacher who tried to give you detention, saying that you were absent for the class when you were sitting in the class
I was
the
sitting
entire
there.
time.
I was there on time.
Fuming.
Like, they had it on camera. I literally just went to class, and he came up to me with an attitude the next day, like, because every day he writes out the detention slips or whatever. So he calls me up and he's like, where were you yesterday? And I was thinking he was talking about SMART. We had this class called SMART, but they don't take attendance in that, so no one goes to that. So I skipped that, but I had an excuse. I had a friend, Paul, who was my excuse for everything. So I had an excuse. I was like, oh, I was doing BSU stuff. I was in the Black Student Union Board, and he was the president, so we were always doing Black Student Union stuff. So I was like, yeah, I was doing that. He was like, no, I'm not talking about SMART. I'm talking about first period, because I had first period study hall with him. And I was like, I was here. And he was like, no, you weren't. And I was like, yes, I was. And then he just like started signing the slip with an attitude. And I'm just like.
So I get a call from Rebecca saying that this teacher was trying to write her up and give her detention for not being in a class that she was in the whole time. I said, Becca, were you actually in the class? She said, yes, I was there. I wouldn't even be calling you if I wasn't. I just took the detention.
Because I skipped classes. I would have took the detention had I skipped.
So I said, okay, I called the dean, because there's a Black dean at the school, thank goodness, somebody who can understand what's going on. I speak to him, and he says, well, this is very easy to find out. It's cameras in every classroom. I said, this guy tried to accuse Rebecca, and all he had to do was go back and check the camera. See, this is the problem with a lot of these predominantly white school systems. They don't expect Black parents to go to bat for their children. And he thought Becca had a parent who was afraid to speak up for her.
And not only that, he didn't think, even if, because I knew you would help out. That's why I texted you too. Because I'm like, even if they don't listen to me, they'll listen to a parent. But as soon as I turned around to sit down, when I saw him sign that slip, I pulled out a sheet of paper, because we're not allowed to talk because it's a study hall. And I sat at a table with 2 other guys, and I was like, I wrote down, I was like, I need you guys to sign this because I'm about to get a detention when I was here yesterday, so just sign this if I was here yesterday. And I got both of them to sign, and I was going to show that to Mr. Rent too, had I needed to, if I needed eyewitnesses.
So he said, okay, I'll check into it, and then I'll give you a call back and let you know whether she was in the class or not. So 10 minutes later, he calls back and said, yeah, she's clearly in the class. And so he said, don't worry, I got you from here. I will take care of this, and Becca will not have to go to any detention. So I knew it was all taken care of.
Yep. And the teacher like didn't apologize. He was just like, oh, I don't know what he said.
He was racist.
Yeah, it was an old white man who was shaped like a pear. Yeah. There was like a common meme that went around about him. Yeah. That was just him with a pear.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's no other reason he would have had that type of an attitude.
Yeah. And everyone knew him as a grumpy person. No, he was known as a teacher that people did not like. He was just not he was just a grumpy old man.
And he thought you were going to be an easy target for him. Yeah. So fortunately, he was wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have anything else you needed to ask me about?
Let me see. Did you already say you gotta have a personal high school story?
Okay, a personal high school story is I don't know. I did a lot of hanging out at my friend's house while I was in high school, like you did at Jasmine's house. I had a friend named Nicole, and I did a lot of hanging out at her house. So one thing, though, we were both voted most likely to succeed our senior year. She went to a different high school than I did. And so she went to, I won't say what high school she went to. And I went to another high school in Gary. And so both of us were voted the most likely to succeed. And I know that one conversation we had a few years later, like when we were well into our 20s, maybe even in our 30s, we felt like, oh my goodness, that title made us feel like we were cursed. It's like nothing in life had been going right for us. We were like, we don't know what we're doing, But things have turned around for both of us. But it was definitely a struggle.
Yeah. Let me see. Did I already say? I think I've pretty much already said my high school story. I will say, going to the school that I went to, it was very much a culture shock. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember when I first started going to the high school that I go to, I remember going in on the first day and seeing a bunch of people crowded around in like Burger King hats with like the party things that you blow on and make the loud noises. And I was just like, what? I'm like, it's 6 a.m. I later found out after going to the school longer that that's a senior thing when it's the first day of school and you're a senior, and it's when you're the last day of school. But I didn't know that. I was a freshman and I'd never been to the school. So I'm like, this is annoying. This is weird. Every class I went to, it was weird. I was like the only black person in all my classes but one. Like, it was just a little much. So do you remember when I was like crying in your room and I was like, there's so many white people.
But it worked out okay.
Yes, I ended up getting used to it. It was just definitely a culture shock because before then I went to IPS, which was majority black, a couple white people, but majority minority. I went to a Gary school.
Right.
Mostly black. There was like 2 white people in the entire school, and it was grades 6 through 12. And then I went to a Houston public school. That one was mainly just a lot of different ethnicities. Houston had like Hispanic, Asian, African, like white, black, all of it. It was just a culture pool in Houston. So this was the first predominantly white place I had really ever been. So it was definitely a little much.
Made you a well-rounded person and built character.
Yeah. And like I said, it was the best like schooling that I had education-wise.
Wow.
Every other school, it's like you can tell the teachers are here to get paid and go home.
That is so sad.
But there were teachers that I could tell actually cared about their job here, and that is sad.
Wow. That is so sad. So what I was saying earlier, though, high schools don't seem to prepare you and that they should have better classes that prepare you for life. But another thing, though, is that what they do seem to do and accomplish is indoctrinate you, like according to your class system. Like they make sure you know your place in society.
Or they try to.
Mm-hmm, they try to. And so I think like the type of school you go to is how they treat you, like prepare you for how you're going to be maybe treated in society. Like if it's a public school, majority Black, they do a lot of yelling, and if it's white school with a little money, they treat you better. It's sad, but what I don't know. It's more indoctrination than really preparing you for life.
Definitely. I stuff in classes, a lot of my classes just went one ear and out the other, because I don't have much of a say in what classes I have to take, because to graduate with an honors diploma you have to have specific credits in specific classes, and that usually takes up your entire schedule. I think to graduate with honors it was like 2 AP classes, I took 3 years of a language, and then it's like you need your core 40, which is just 40 credits, but I think you need like 55 to graduate with honors. It's just a whole list of things, and it's a bunch of classes that fill up your schedule that you have to take, where it's like you don't even really have room. Even if you want, the only classes I would say I took that I really wanted to take was my theater. That was extracurricular that I actually enjoyed. And I took like a cooking class. That was really nice because I got to make food at the end of the day. But that's really all I had room for in 4 years. And what is that? 8 semesters. And I had 2 classes that I could say I wanted to take because I was genuinely interested in them.
Wow. Well, so there's our spiel on education, folks. In America.
Did you not want to go into college?
Oh, yeah, we can go into college.
Here,
yeah.
I can speed run my college experience for you guys.
One day.
No, a little bit longer. So, I was there for 6 days. I went to a college in Illinois, which is out of state from where I am.
4 hours away.
It was like 6.
The drive?
Yeah.
Far.
It was far.
Very far.
Far.
Almost across the street from Iowa.
Iowa?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. All right. Well, anyway, so I went down there and I'm moving. So, first of all, dorms suck. I cannot do a dorm ever again. I'm not a dorm person. I don't like living with a stranger at all. My roommate also, I don't think was the greatest for me. I'm not saying she wasn't a great person. I'm sure she's a wonderful person, but our personalities did not click. She just, I can tell one story that I had from college, and this is what really kind of set me off. I was not happy on this day. So in our college dorms, we had the freshman dorm building, which is the beat down, the oldest, the worst, yeah. Oh, your next number 9 is following. Hello.
Oh,
thanks for following.
Thank you. Hey.
All right.
Where is...
and Preco has followed.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I was looking for, because you promised.
I see that the Naya one is my cousin Anaya. That's Corey's daughter.
Oh, hey, Anaya.
Hello, Anaya. I saw you texting me on Snapchat. I'll answer that, but I can't now, but I will answer that. But anyway, so freshmen have the worst dorm. Freshmen, maybe a couple sophomores. And then there's a middle dorm, which is your sophomores and your juniors, which is a little bit nicer and, livable. And then you've got your senior one, upperclassmen one, graduate school, blah, 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 which was like hotels. It was really nice. So I would say the dorm I lived in, there was one that was pretty close. The mid one was about like a 5-minute walk away. But the senior one that was nice, like the hotels, was I had to get in my car and drive because it was like I actually had to go down a street and like it would have been a good 30-minute, maybe not 30-minute walk. It was a bit of a walk away. It was.
Probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Maybe like 15 or 20 because I did attempt to walk it, and this is where the story begins. So, the way that the food worked because of COVID, they said, was our dorm building just straight up never sold food. So that entire first semester, our dorm building just wasn't having food for whatever reason. So for us to eat, we either had to go to the middle place, which I had gone there the first 2 days, and the lines were insane. It was not even okay how long the lines to get into the middle one was because it's so close and because both buildings pretty much had to use that one. So because I had a car, I usually would just get in my car like after I realized these lines are too long, and they stopped serving food after a certain time. So there were a couple times where I was in line and they would stop serving food and the lines had to leave. Yeah, and I had to go and get like a sub from a restaurant that was close by. That did happen. So I just didn't like this school to begin because of the things that I was seeing and experiencing. So one day I was feeling like, I've been sitting around in my dorm all day. It's a nice day. I'm going to walk to the nice building today because I think I know how to get there. I don't know why I thought that. I'm not good at directions. I never have been. And I had only been there for like 4 days now, so I don't know why I thought this was a great idea. But I decided, okay, I'm gonna walk. So I start walking and I realize I'm lost. I very quickly realize I'm lost, but I know where I am. I'm at the bookstore, which my dorm mate, her parents actually graduated from that college, so she knew where like everything was. And she took me on like a little tour the day before. So I was like, okay, I know I'm at the bookstore and I know she knows where the bookstore is. So I call her and I'm like, hey, I tried to walk. I've been walking for like 10 minutes, but I realized I've got no clue where I am. Could you like pick me up? Because she also had a car. And I was like, could you pick me up and either like take me back to the dorm and I'll just go to the close one, or take me to the place to get food, but like you don't have to because I don't expect you to, and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, I would, but I'm a little tired and I want to eat. Like she was at the dorm. She just was tired and wanted to eat. So I was just kind of like, okay. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'm not trying to be like that, but yeah, I don't feel like it, basically. So I was like, all right, I see where I am now. So I start trying to figure it out. So I go inside the bookstore and I ask like one of the staff workers for a map because I'm like, it's still the first couple days. I'm sure I'm not the only person getting lost.
Right.
So I go up there, I ask for a map. And then a first world problem happened that I ran into, and that is got no idea how to use a map.
Problem with the education system.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm looking at this map. I see where I need to get, but I can't look at this map and know how to get there. I just had this map, and could have been a blank piece of paper. So I'm walking around. I tried to figure it out though. I was like, it can't be too hard. People use these, like, it has what the buildings are. Maybe I can make out and see signs and stuff like that.
For the future though, you know that Google Maps has a walk feature.
I tried to use that, but my Google Maps doesn't like me. I tried to use that. I put it in my dorm thing, but even in the car, it takes me to this like weird building, and then from there, it's like not the dorm at all. It's just like, it was like the vaccination building.
Oh.
It was really weird. Or not vaccination, but like your shots to get your shot. Like the medic clinic thing.
Okay, clinic.
Yeah, and that's where the map sends you. So I did try to use that and it made me more lost. I was outside for at least 2 hours walking around. Like, even when I was calling her, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I sat down at the bookstore for a minute, but with the map, I was out for another, like, hour because I just had no clue where I was going. And I really only knew her and my, like, Rocky buddy, and she wasn't answering her phone. So I was like, I'm gonna have to figure this out.
Wow.
I spent, like, majority of that day walking. And then I still had to go get food after, and I had to get in my car. But anyway, so I'm walking. It's been like another hour, and my roommate calls me again, but at this point, I'm like, no, screw you. I'm figuring this out. I'm not letting you come pick me up. So
pride got in the way.
Well, I ended up figuring it out. Okay. And I was like, because I'm like, I'm not trying to be in a car with her, because I know myself. I know I would have had an attitude, and it would have been very apparent. So I just didn't answer her call. I don't know if she was going to offer to take me or was checking up on me or whatever, but I didn't answer her call. I'm still walking. So, like, another hour passes. Actually, what ended up happening is I still was lost, but my Rocky buddy, which is, like, the college's term for an upperclassman that shows lowerclassmen around, they get assigned to you, like, before school starts, blah, blah, blah. So we had exchanged Snapchats, like, earlier before then because the school gives each other information, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So she ended up finally responding. She was like in a orientation meeting or club meeting, something like that. And she ended up actually coming down and walking. She was like, I don't have my car right now, but I can walk to you and walk you back to your dorm and then go back to my dorm. And I was like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, she ended up helping me out. But after that, I was very mad at my roommate.
Thank you, Rocky buddy.
Yeah. But yeah, after that, I was like, very upset. I was not happy with my roommate at all. Because if someone called me with that, like, in a car, it's like a not very long drive at all. Again, it's like a 5-minute drive.
Right.
And she has a car. She could have very easily just got in real quick, came and got me, and then came back.
Right. Well, I work from home, so I do a lot of talking over Zooms and Microsoft Teams and stuff like that to my coworkers. And so, you know, coworkers ask you about your family, and I had been telling them that I had a daughter that we were taking to school. I might have even taken a day or two off in order to get you to school or something like that. So I talked to one of my coworkers, and she's like, yeah, your daughter went to college, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, well, how is she? How's she liking it? I said, we took her to college, and she darn near beat us back to the house.
I just didn't see myself wanting to spend thousands of dollars on that experience.
Well, most people said that during a pandemic, they don't think they would have been able to.
Every single person that I mentioned it to was like, yeah, God, it makes sense. Yeah, it was insane.
Too much.
We needed a key to access the elevators. We weren't allowed to have people on our dorm floor, not the dorm building, but only people on our floor we could interact with in our dorm rooms. And if not, they would like write you up and like you could get kicked out type situation. So it was just way too much. And my dorm mate was just such a like I remember the first weeks, you know, of course they know freshmen don't know anyone. There's freshmen that come in from out of state. So they did set up on the dorm floors like floor meetings and get to know each other, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So it's weird going to stuff like that by yourself. But my roommate would just like never want to go to them. She'd be like, oh, I don't want to meet them. Like there would be people in buildings next to us that would be laughing a little bit loud, but I didn't mind because I'm like I kind of expected that. It is a college dorm building.
Straighten your nose ring is crooked. Okay, I like to see it straight.
Okay. But yeah, but she was just always, oh, they're being so loud, they're so annoying. Like just was very we weren't personality matches.
No. Yeah, that happens sometimes. It was hard for me to find a personality match when I was in college. I switched roommates every semester until I think my third year, I finally found the perfect match. And then we were able to remain roommates for at least that entire year. And then I was roommates with your dad. So it was actually a room for two people. But we let your your dad crashed because he was my boyfriend at the time. So he pretty much, I think, had moved in with us. Yeah, with a young lady who I thought was getting ready to be my stepsister because my dad was engaged to her mom for a while and we got along so well. But they ended up not getting married, so yeah.
All right, I think you got through all the grades. You got anything you want to add on education to all of you people out there who still have to see? Everyone felt really bad for the seniors that had to graduate and miss prom and blah, blah, blah because of COVID. And that did suck, of course. Like, it did feel like, dang, I've been doing all this, like, to get to senior year. And then all the fun stuff at the end of the year was just kind of taken. Like, my school had a thing called Senior Assassin I really wanted to do, where you sign up and you pay $5 and you get assigned a person and you have to shoot them with the water gun, not at their home and not at their job. I think were like the rules, and maybe like some other ones, but pretty much you just had to find them and shoot them with the water gun. And I was excited for that. And the winner got all the, or majority of the money that went in for the 5 people that paid. So the first place prize was like $1,000-something. So I'm like, yeah, hey, it's fun to try even if I don't win. But so stuff like that got a little snatched away.
Missed her senior play that she had been
I was
to
more upset about
practice.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the play that happened too.
It spent like 1,000 hours in practice for the play, and then come time for the play to happen, it's canceled due to COVID.
Canceled because of COVID. Yeah, that was annoying. It was very annoying. But yeah, so stuff did get taken away from me as a senior, but I'm really glad that I was graduating because I was able to take a gap year. I think had I had to do online school, I don't know how good I could have done personally, because even at the end of senior year when it switched to online school, I'm very glad I did really well in school because my grades were like all A's. So once it went to COVID, it dropped to C's, but then they average out your 2 semester grades for your whatever grade. So I ended up having A- and B+, which I'm fine. It got me my honors diploma. That's A-okay with me. So yeah, I'm very glad I could do that. But to the people who just were forced to learn online, I feel like it's already hard for people to sometimes understand what's going on when they're in class looking at a teacher. But looking at a screen and being taught a lesson and everything being online, I just can't imagine. I really can't. Because I'm a pen and paper kind of person. Yeah. I am not a technology person.
Yeah.
So to all the people out there who still had to go through school for like a whole year online and doing Zoom classes, props to them, because I don't know.
Well, they're talking about making people go back to school now, and I feel a little bad about that because, you know, COVID is not over. It's not a thing of the past. It's like still ongoing, and this Delta variant that's out is supposed to be more contagious and deadlier than what we've ever seen thus far. So I'm a little nervous about, especially if you have anybody under 11 years old, I think, can't get the vaccination. So those little kiddies in elementary school, you know, tossing it around to each other and then bringing it back to their parents at home and grandparents or whoever. So I'm anticipating another flare-up in cases.
I do know, though, that for at least all the colleges, every single person I know who's in a college, their college is making them get a vaccine for them to be on campus. Mm-hmm. Like, if they want to be on campus, they have to get a vaccine. There was people trying to, like, protest against it and blah, blah, blah. But no, like, you have to get a vaccine if you want to be on campus. And I just found out that I think high schools are doing that, too. I think they're making it to where you have to get a vaccine if you're going in.
Yeah, because you already have a long laundry list of vaccinations you got to get while you're in school. They may as well add the COVID to it.
Yeah. So, I don't know about, like, middle school and elementary and all that, but I do think high school.
I'm nervous about those kids because I don't think it's been tested on the younger kids.
Hello, Lucid Vibes. Yeah, it is dumb.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's real dumb. Does not make sense.
Yeah. But, all right, anything else? That was just my wrap up, just the people out there on Zoom.
Yes. You do a joke.
Do a joke?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do my favorite terrible joke. No one's gonna laugh. Be prepared, it's not funny. So, you know it. You already know the joke because I think you bought the book that the joke was in. But I'll tell it to you guys. Please don't laugh. It's not funny. All right. So, why did the boy bring tissue to the party?
Oh, okay.
And
I don't know.
Because he was a party pooper.
I thought you were going to tell your famous joke. Oh, but you couldn't because it's more of a visual thing.
Are you going to say beaver with an
tear the gum and have every day. She'd ask for a piece of my gum in the car. I chew the peppermint extra.
No. She doesn't chew peppermint extra. She's slightly addicted to peppermint extra. She cannot go
fresh breath.
Top tier joke. It is a top tier joke. It really is.
So she said, "Hey mom, let me get a piece of gum." I give her the piece. Then she'll say, okay, she'll tear it in half and put it in her mouth and have it hanging down. And she'll say, "Mom, what does this look like?" With the 2 pieces of gum hanging down. I say, "I don't know." And what would you say?
A beaver with an infected tooth.
A beaver with an infected tooth. Every day. Every day.
A small child.
And every day I said, "I don't know."
I think my favorite, we'll end on this, I swear, but I like the one that you told me. I don't personally remember doing this, but you said that there was a man like running on a cold day and had on like no shirt and shorts. And I was like, oh, look at, okay, so my mom is a like nursing, medical major, blah, blah, blah. So she would leave her like medical books laying around. So in one of her medical books, I read about frostbite, which is when I took away from it that it's when your body gets cold or a part of your body gets cold and then it turns black and it falls off. That was my knowledge of frostbite.
In a nutshell.
So I guess I saw this man running and it was a cold day and she says that I yelled out, "Oh, he's gonna turn black and fall off."
Yeah, and that's loud enough for him to hear. He looks at the both of us. I'm like, put some clothes on, dude.
That's my favorite one. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. Rebecca was the type of child who would say literally anything that came into her head.
Will kind of pretty much do that.
Yes, I remember times we used to go to church a lot. And so one particular time we were there and a guy walked in kind of late and he had like a knot on his head and Becca saw him and she was like, "Oh my God, what happened to his head?" And then she was like up and walking in his direction to ask him. I snatched her. "Oh no, you are not gonna ask this man what happened to his head. No, we're not going there. You just sit your little behind down and we're gonna, you know." But
I think it's fair. If you're curious, find out. And who knows, it might have given him something to talk about. Sometimes, at least I know for me, when I have injuries, every now and then I want people to ask. I remember, because I mean, it's a valid question. It is a valid question.
But no adult wants to talk to a 3-year-old about what happened to their head.
I could have possibly made his day. Because again, okay, so at Nana's house, I was playing with our cousins. And I stubbed my toe on the corner of a door frame or something. Everybody's done it. Y'all know what I mean. And in my head, it was broken. So I came to school on crutches the next day. I was like, hey, y'all are gonna know that my pinky toe is in pain. I put it like on ice, like I made a big deal about it. And then I got sent home. I got sent to the nurse because apparently if you come to school with crutches, you have to have a doctor's note saying that you need crutches. I just took the crutches from my grandma's garage because she had crutches. So I wasn't allowed to not have crutches without a doctor saying that. So I got sent home for having a broken toe.
That was not broken.
I could still walk. I definitely could. But to be said, I did get asked when I was coming in, like 5 people came up to me and were like, oh, what happened? Are you okay? And that was the point. So if you fall in cardio class, who's going to pay for the knee surgery? Exactly. But yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, people came up to me and asked, so that was the point. So some people like to be noticed for their injuries.
Yeah.
That tell their war stories, if you will.
Yeah. Another story with her being very outspoken was I took them to see the dolphin show at the zoo. They wanted to sit up front, her and her sister is they. They had on their swimsuits. They wanted to sit up front so that when the dolphins do tricks, they would get splashed. I, on the other hand, did not want to get wet, so I sat in the back and I just watched them from afar. So Rebecca in the front row, I'm probably very near the back, maybe mid-back section. And so she's yelling, hey, Mom! Hey, Mom! And I'm like, yeah, what is it? Here I am. I thought she just wanted to make sure she knew where I was. So we're yelling over all these people back and forth. I probably, if you put it in numbers, I was at least 20 rows back. Yeah! And she's like, Mom, I'm like, yeah, what? She's like, why are all these white people here? They all like,
why are they here?
In unison, turn around and look. So I just was like, that's the story that everybody loves.
It's another genuine question. I wanted to know why there were so many there. I'm a very observant person, and I will point out my observations.
Yes, she has always been a very observant person. Yes, indeed.
All right, but that will end our stream. We ended on more stories than education talk, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
just having fun. Thank you all so much for watching.
Thank you, chat, for being active.
Yes.
I very much enjoy when chat is active, so keep it up. If you're watching this later on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and comment. Let us know if you got any other topics you want us to talk about.
And before you go, we would like to mention that we have a goal that we're trying to reach here, our monthly goal. So if you have $1 or $2 that you would like to donate towards the cause, we would be so happy to see you donate. We'll call you out, shout you out, say hi to your mom, whatever you want us to do.
Yeah. And with donations, they have like Super Chat, I think it's called, where their message is like highlighted and
Super Chat.
See you
That's
even
right.
more.
That's right. So help us reach our monthly goal of $50. Thank you.
And if you're on YouTube where there's not a donation thing, please subscribe, because we all know over time that becomes money. Subscribe, like, I think that bell does something. I don't know if it does anything for money, but
try all the icons at the bottom of the screen. Just click on all of them.
All right, that is the end of our stream.
All right.
We will see you
Thank
guys.